One Piece chapter 956. Now this chapter, I think this is something that we all expected, given that we got something very similar with the ending of Act 1. And let me just say that the implication of what's to come is insane. Now obviously we got nothing pertaining to what's currently going on in Wano, only a few bits here and there with X Drake. But this was definitely a breath of fresh air, as it takes you away from Wano to know about things that are happening elsewhere, given how unstable the world of One Piece has become. And it also makes sense given that this is an arc that would affect the entire One Piece world. It only makes sense that we should see reactions from other parties. There's a lot of interesting points in all of this, especially pertaining to the Warlords and Blackbeard, but I'll talk more on that later. But let's start from the beginning. Now the chapter starts off with us getting news about the events of the Reverie from several characters throughout the chapter. It first starts off with Garp, and we see that he escorted the fisherman back to Fishman Island, and Garp hints towards a plot point that has been talked about for a very long time now, and that is regarding Vivi and Cobra. Now we know previously that Cobra wanted to meet the Gorosei to talk to them about something, probably about the poneglyphs and possibly about the past, maybe the Void Century as well. And we also know that the Gorosei was hoping that he didn't figure anything out, or else they might do something. So my headcanon here is that he probably got killed for knowing too much. And we also know that M-sama had a picture of Vivi. Now what they want with her specifically, we're not sure, but it seems like this is something that the Marines are still trying to figure out, as Garp stated. But I think it might have to do something with the fact that given that Vivi is a descendant of one of the Twin Kingdoms, it makes a lot of sense for them to force a groom upon her, which would then make said individual the king of Alabasta, assuming that Cobra died. So this is something that's probably going to be important moving forward. We then move on to big news, and we get information pertaining to a death, which was kind of hinted to be Sabo, but I'll get back to that. Now the funny thing here is that the government tried to do a cover-up, because big news was about to release the information that the government didn't want out there, and because of that, Morgans was pressured by a CP0 agent who was just casually masquerading as one of his people. But it turns out that Morgans was able to get rid of this person and release the news that he wanted. Now remember, Morgans was there at the Reverie, so there has to be some truth to what was said in the newspapers. Now I don't think Sabo is dead. I don't think that makes any sense. Sabo dying right now in the story is something that I think is impossible, but it makes you question where Sabo and the other revolutionaries are, because for some reason they haven't been in contact with Dragon for about a week. So I think something did happen, but I doubt Sabo dying is a part of it. Now if there's someone that died during the Reverie, my guess would be Cobra, because of several elements that was hinted beforehand. But I think Sabo dying is most likely fake news, even though it was something that came directly from Morgans. But this is definitely spicing things up. Now we know that the revolutionaries are a bit wary now because they haven't been able to make contact yet, but Dragon says that he wants to make sure. So it's going to be interesting to see what Dragon does moving forward. We then move on to Kobe, and here we see that he's talking to X Drake, and it turns out that Kobe and X Drake are a part of a special force within the Marines called the Forces, X Drake being the captain of that force. And I'm starting to think that X Drake joined Kaido's crew to spy on Kaido's movements, to give information to the Marines. It seems like this is a force that works as an independent unit that works directly under the Marines. Perhaps the Marines use this special force as their own spies, a force separated from the world government. Now this might sound like a plot twist, but I've always looked at X Drake in a weird light. I personally thought that he was never a pirate because of several things that was hinted beforehand. And first of all, it's very weird for a Marine to turn into a pirate. We know that he spent a huge amount of time in the Marines, even rising up in ranks to the rank of Rear Admiral. So it was kind of weird for someone who had spent so much time in the Marines to switch sides. So the X Drake thing, I'm not really surprised because I had suspicions. Now we also get to see Kobe here as well. We see that Kobe has risen in rank from captain to Rear Admiral in a short amount of time, because the last time he appeared during the Reverie, he was stated to be a captain, so he essentially jumped 2 ranks. But again, you know, Kobe's making gains. We know he was talented to begin with, so we're seeing progression here with Kobe. And the chapter finally ends up with the abolishment of the Shichibukai system. Again, something that we know was on its way. Now I didn't think it would go into effect this quickly, but now every warlord is pretty much a pirate once again. I know for a fact that Mihawk isn't going to have any issues. Boa is probably going to be good as well. Something that was reiterated in this chapter was that these guys were chosen by the world government because they were strong, so it's not going to be easy for the Marines to capture them, and I doubt the Marines would send the admirals because they need to focus their powerhouses on something else. So I think the Warlords for the most part are going to be fine. But overall, this was an amazing chapter. These transitional chapters we get every at the end of every act is always refreshing. One of the best aspects of One Piece is the vast amount of characters that we have, and it's always great to see their reactions to the events of the One Piece world. And I'm actually very curious as to how Blackbeard, the Marines, and the Warlords are going to move, especially for Hancock and Mihawk, given that Mihawk is a huge outlier in all of this because he's pretty much like a top tier in the One Piece world. But this was an amazing chapter. We're most likely going to go back to Wano after this chapter. Maybe we might get one more Reverie info chapter, we're not sure, but I think more than likely we're going to go back to Wano and focus on what we have going on there. But I'm definitely looking forward to how things are going to play out moving forward. But again, just my quick thoughts on the chapter. Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. Follow me on Twitter if you do have a Twitter. But it is fair, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.